Greetings, I'm Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, today with Watch Me Play It Solo, Scythe. There's Stonemeyer game, another Automa, and this one utilizes a deck of cards, as usual. It'll hit a point where it'll use the red stuff, or the red side of the card. It's also got combat chart and how many resources you get for fighting the Automa there. So the Automa does not get the usual action board. Instead, they get their stars. They get a permanent lock-in of popularity 10, so that their stars will be worth 4 and their territories are worth 3. They will have their usual starting stuff on their home space. There will be various difficulties of Automa. Autometta means that if a certain symbol is showing on the card, they're not going to take their turn at all. But every turn that the middle star is a star showing, they'll move one space down, eventually unlocking the ability to just cross rivers and occupy lakes, and start getting the stars. Of course, you as a regular player just have to end up with more coins than them at the end. Alright. Set up for 2 players, so 3 factory cards. They still have their power, they still have their combat cards. They start with 5 coins, period. They don't have missions to complete. I'm going to have mine face up so I can keep an eye on what my options are. Between control at least 3 village territories at the end of your turn, and have 1 factory card, at least 1 mech, and no more than 3 workers. I think I know which one is going to be the easier one to try to do from here. You can choose which faction you want to be the Automa. You'll be using their mechs and workers and stars. I'm choosing a faction that is far away from me so that I don't have to worry about fighting. Hopefully for a while. They're primarily going to be focused on trying to get towards the factory. Another thing that'll pop up is the term neighborhood on a lot of the cards for managing the Automa. Neighborhood is where something is and everything around it that is within actual movement. So they're going to hit a wall like right here. Some other things that'll pop up. Yeah, they don't really need resources. They don't use tunnels. Yeah. That's pretty much it. It's gonna start with the player taking their turn first. I'm choosing to play as the Crimean Khanate. And my board happens to be agricultural, which is great for enlistment, which works well with what I got there. It's gonna suck for trying to deploy mechs though. At least I've got access to the materials and just won't get any money for it. The hard thing is going to be structures because I have to get over here. Or I have to resort to trading. So let's get started. The thing to do first is just get moving. We'll have 1 worker here. Another worker. Let's send the character there and eventually get to that encounter and see what it has to offer. And then I don't have any old upgrades, so onto the Automa turn. So, from the top, if there's a little symbol right here, and I'm playing on Autometta, which is what I'm doing, they'll skip their turn. Otherwise, we do the first thing shown here. There's an encounter at the factory. No. Then, with that case, non-attacking move, character. Alright. Select Automa character. Valid hex is neighborhood of any Automa unit. The neighborhood of Automa's base. No enemy unit. No Automa mech. Destination hex. Valid hex. Short distance from enemy combat unit. Closest factory. Reading order. So either way is closer to the factory. Reading order is left to right. And from here, I could do reading order from my point of view and put it here, but I'm going to go reading order for the board's orientation. Alright. We get stuff on the second line, which is going to be 3 power and a coin. The Automa can get their power star and get combat stars before the guaranteed star happens. And finally, if I had my recruitment for the mech space, I would get the coin. There's an X over the star in the middle, so this token does not move. And while this token is in this space, there's no getting across the rivers. So this will go in the discard pile as a reminder of how many turns there have been. If I ever need to use a card for combat, it'll go into a separate pile just to keep things, keep track of things. Make sure I don't miss anything. Alright, so we're back to my player. And I'm thinking, I need to move again. We're going to build up power. The idea is to not get into a fight yet. So, let's look at resources for... Let's go ahead and spend a coin and get resources. We got 2... 2 fuel to upgrade with next move, or get 2 food, produce, and bolster, and get that initial enlistment. That might be a strategy. There, we trade money for food. All right. No steel to make mechs, so it's back to the Automa turn. Alright. It might show in parentheses like their faction symbol, in which case that does happen. So, move worker. Select Automa worker, closest to Automa base. Valid hexes, neighborhood of any Automa unit. Neighborhood of Automa base. No enemy units. No Automa worker other than one selected. Alright. Pick up selected. Choose destination hex. Valid hex. Neighborhood with most. Not neighborhood of enemy combat units. Closest to factory and then reading order. Alright. Alright. We got another worker and more power. Because up in the middle. So if the Automa player can just build up power and I'm not challenging them, they can get their power star early. There was a star in the middle, so Automa, or the Autometta token, goes from here to here. You know what? Let's put it up here where it's nice and visible. All right. Back to me. Produce. So it's not very efficient if I'm not having both my guys out. Go ahead and move. So we get my worker here and my character here. Character's gonna get the encounter. Okay. Pet the reindeer and flirt with the locals at the refinery to gain 2 money and a popularity. Stock up on oil for the journey ahead. Pay 2 to gain 4 oil. Convince the soldier that reindeer aren't real. Pay 2 popularity to enlist 1 recruit. Paying $2 and getting 4 oil. And having that oil available to use immediately on doing the upgrade. So it'll get me a coin. And let's see what we can improve here. The agricultural board is let's do more enlistments. And not so much in the way max. I presume her special is once per turn I can spend a combat card as if it were any 1 resource token. I'm thinking being able to super enlist and here. We'll get more combat cards to work with for her special ability. And it'll make enlistment cheaper. There we go. 1 upgrade closer to that star. Alright. And now, back to the Automa. We got that little symbol up there at the top left. We'll gear through an X, or with gear with an X through it. And playing on automated difficulty means he'll skip the turn completely. Cool. Make absolutely sure. So that's what happens. Good thing this is early enough in the game that I know where everything should be. This is kind of the rough thing of having a game use things like this. Is sometimes things will just go out of hand. Alright. Yep, if it's the symbol, then skip the turn. Alright. Well, it's more time for me to work with. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and pay the 1 money. Take the 2 combat cards. Because I said, otherwise I start with none of them. And then once per turn, we'll go ahead and spend a combat card as any 1 resource. And spend that food. And do the enlistment, which will get me 3 money. What do I want on the list? Let's see here. I still have 5 upgrades to go, and my next move is probably going to be, let's go ahead and continue upgrading. But I'm also in that position where I can just enlist like crazy. I think if I take the... I'm trying to set up things to upgrade fast. That might be the thing. So we enlist, we get... Let's see here. 2 popularity. 2 popularity to eventually start making things worth more to me, because it's... If we don't get this built up, nothing I do is going to be worth it. Now, if I did the enlistment first... I did the enlistment instead. And then produce, and then do another enlistment, and then do that, and then get the advantage of doing that. It has been a little bit since I've looked over this game, so I just want to be able to say with certainty what the best approach and what actually is supposed to happen. Free recruits. Let's see here. Do recruit ongoing bonus. If I do the enlistment recruit instead, I can get cards from all further enlistment actions. Which, if I'm using cards anyway, that's probably the thing. It's probably the strategy. Or you as player meet left or right. Bottom row. Alright. So there. We'll make enlisting the key to victory here. Alright. It goes to the Automa turn. The character is going to continue to try to get closer to the factory. That's as far as I can get. They get another plastic piece. If the character is on their mat, then they get the character. Otherwise, they get a mech. Yes, that's a mech on their home base. It's weird. There's a star showing. So I'm going to move a step ahead. Alright. Let me back to me. We'll produce. So I've got another person to work with and another batch of food. I have no materials for structures, so it'll go back to the Automa player. Alright. And they're once again trying to get closer to the factory, and they cannot. Oh, yeah. The character moving to this spot removes the encounter token. We'll also get a combat card and another worker. If I have my enlistment that gets me a combat card, I get the combat card. There you go. And then the star on there will move their counter, and they're a few steps away from being able to get moving. Alright, back to me. Move over here, spend the one, bolster for 2 power. Try to get that star. We'll spend the 1 card and the 1 food on the enlistment, which will get me 3 money. Take another 3. And it'll get me a combat card for that bonus. And then we'll do the upgrade enlistment and get 2 additional power. Try to get that star. Alright. Alright. Goes back to Automa. They are not playing in satisfaction, so they go on the next one. Trying to get to the factory. They cannot. So they can't really move at all until they're past this point. They'll at least get a coin out of the deal. And the star means moving to that space. That moves again, and then they'll be able to start crossing all the bodies of water. And it comes back to me. Let's see. They'll go ahead and do the move. So we'll get 1 here and 1 here. We'll spend the 2 oil and do the upgrade. That'll get me a coin for that. That'll get me a power for the enlistment bonus. And then the upgrade itself, just I'll make the trade do better for popularity and make my enlistment completely, almost completely free. All right. Cool. That works out pretty well. Back to the Automa player. They are not playing as faction. They are moving their workers. All right. So closest Automa's base. One in the base. Any Automa units. Destination X. neighborhood of most. Let's see here. No Automa worker. Alright. And they'll get a coin. We'll turn these 2 1s into a 3. And they're finally free to start moving past the rivers and everything else. Alright. Back to me. We'll pay 1. Bolster the 2 power. And then instead of spending a resource, let's spend a combat card to enlist, which will get me 3 money. Turn 9 into 12. Alright. We'll open up the structure enlistment and get 2 more cards. Hopefully I don't have to fight, but it's nice to be prepared. And doing that gets me another card. Alright. And now that the Autometta is free to get past all the water and all that, let's see what happens. We got the gear X symbol, skipping the Automa's turn for Autometta. Alright. So, we'll do is produce 2 hexes worth. We'll get another food. We get 2 steel. Oop, yeah. I don't have the wood for the structure. And I'll go to Automa. Does Automa get a turn? Yes. They're going to be moving. So, from the left, moving mechs. Alright. So, close element. Unit, combat unit. Hex, shortest distance. Factory, green order. Alright. So it goes here. In addition, they get another mech. And 2 power. Again, it's very possible that the Automas can end up with their power star. Alright. The star moves. When the star gets to this point, it'll switch over to Scheme 2. And also give them their first star. They don't have one. Alright. Comes back to me. Sure as hell, I'm going to... Actually, what I want to do is fix my freaking problems here. The easy thing I can do is do the enlistment. Actually, that's what I should do first, because the next thing I want to do is trade, get the metal, make the mech, open up my freaking Riverwalk ability. So that's what we end up doing. Now there, we spend the 1, we bolster the 2 power, and instead of spending the food, we spend the combat card as the once per turn resource power. Enlist, get that 3 money, get that combat card. That final enlistment gets me 2 coins. We'll turn that 3 into a 5. And I have all 4 of my enlistments. I've got star number 1. So I think next few turns I'm going to be able to hit the power max. I'm going to try to get my popularity up. I'm going to try to get out of this hole by building the Riverwalk mech. And we'll just proceed from there. So let's see, before I call this for now, let's see what Automa does. And once again, playing on Autometta. It's another turn not happening. Cool. So I'll probably see where this goes tomorrow. But for now, seeing how things are going. You know what? What the hell? Let's demonstrate how combat works with this crazy thing. Alright. So let's say I actually got into combat somehow. Let's say we got one of my mechs and one of their mechs at the factory. Alright. So I'll choose my combat power and cards. Let's say we'll throw out my 5 and I'll throw out the 7 just to be absolutely sure. Alright. Draw an Automa card and place it sideways on the combat discard pile. You'll discard your combat card sideways to help you keep track of what turns you actually took with cards. Alright. Find the power range of the top row of the combat table that corresponds to the Automa's current power of 10. So 7. So 7 is what they'll use. If it has less than that, I'll use as much as possible. If it has any kind of card symbols here, it'll take that many cards from the stack that's been building up and add them. So 7 against 10. So it's going to lose that combat. Try to keep things separate here. So if the Automa loses combat, retreat the combat unit to the faction mat. If there are any resources showing here, then I would put those in the space. But because it's a factory, I don't get anything. See here. If you're the attacker in 1, take the last card on a card not used for combat. Take the last card not used for combat. It would be 2. But because it's the factory, or if there were a lake or a village, no resources get placed. Yeah. And because I won that combat, I would get my combat star. It'd be limited to 2 combat stars as normal. So yeah, the upper level difficulties have some interesting names. Take a look here. Yeah. They get out of the box. Oh yeah, I'm going to show these freaking bonus tiles to build next to tunnels. And every tunnel we're built next to going to make a difference. There you go. So, there we go. So yeah, Autometta is the easy difficulty. Automa is normal. Autometta is hard. And very hard is Ultimate Scythe. No water restriction. It hits Scheme 2 very quickly. Good luck. Yeah, I would appreciate games like this that have, hey, here's a way to play the game solo. You know, I do want to see where this ends up though, but unfortunately it's a little bit late at night, so we'll see where I'm at in the morning, and then see how this ends up. But yeah, Scythe can be played solo from the base game, and I appreciate that. All right, thanks for watching. It's Pillar Nexus. I'll see you next time.